Hello and welcome to Sportish, where we look at life through the lens of sport. My name is Georgie Trickett, and we're in that part of the year where you might not know what day it is and you've eaten a lot of ham and possibly too much Christmas pudding, and hopefully you've been able to have a little bit of a break and spend some time with loved ones or family or just on the couch with a good book. Whatever it is that you might have been doing, I can guarantee you in my household, we will have been watching a lot of cricket, but I appreciate that's not for everybody. We are dropping this sports short into your feed today because it's the 31st of December. It's the time of year where everyone's setting goals and looking at the year ahead. And we want you, as part of that, to think about motivation, and particularly motivation when it comes to sport. And you might think, hey, I'm not an elite athlete. I don't need to talk about motivation. Let me tell you that everyone needs to think about motivation in some facet of their lives. This is a conversation that we had with Rebecca Sparrow a couple of years ago, all about the topic of motivation. It's something that I particularly reflect on a lot when I'm struggling to get into exercise and routine. And it's always just good to go back and listen and refresh my memory on why it's a bit more than just motivation. We hope you enjoy.
Is there a secret answer to finding motivation and willpower? Don't look at me, anybody, because I don't know. So I've got Libby Trickett and Georgie Trickett here, and I want you to talk to me about motivation.
Well, I'm here to tell you that it's all a scam. We don't all have this inbuilt motivation. We don't all jump out of bed thinking, yes, I love it that it's dark and cold and now I have to go and do AFL practice. It's totally normal to not want to get out there and play sport. We all hit those patches, and actually sometimes that's when you get the best results. I mean, Libby, I know for a fact that you hated swimming training, which is ironic.
Yeah, for the majority of my swimming career, in the early stages, probably between the ages of 10 and maybe 16, I was known as Libby the Lobster because I used to love sitting on the wall or missing laps and going to the toilet for 15 minutes and having a shower. Any chance I got to like skip laps or put fins on or do things more easily.
So hang on, that goes against everything that I would think about someone who's an Olympian. Because
Yeah.
I'm thinking like alarm goes off, you're like, yes,
Oh, no.
I'm here for it.
No, my mum woke me up every morning to take me to training. I wasn't the athlete getting her up to take me to training. So it took a really long time. And for me, the light bulb, and I guess this is probably what we'll allude to, is understanding your why, because I think that is the nugget of gold that helps us sustain some motivation, or at least reminds us of why we're doing something. But for me, it was understanding that I loved racing. And the light bulb moment for me was that when I actually started to do a little bit more, and, you know, it wasn't a lot, I started actually completing the entire sessions that I was attending.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you. I started to see little improvements when it came to racing. And then I added a session, and then I went a little bit faster. And then I added another session and I went a little bit faster. And so when I made that connection and I was able to go, if I actually train hard, that means I'm going to race really fast. And that was the big motivating factor for me. Having said that, Beck, when you were talking about waking up at 4 a.m. and it's dark and cold outside, cold water is my kryptonite. So, but basically it's the thing that I absolutely hate so much in the world. And, you know, there were moments where it was 5 o'clock in the morning, it was winter, it was pitch black, it was raining. I knew that the heater in the pool was broken, so I'd have to be swimming in a really cold pool. In those moments, what is it that you draw on to get yourself out of bed? And for me, that's not motivation, that's understanding what I'm working towards. That's my why. And for me, I wrote those down. I wrote my goals down, put it on my bedroom wall, and I looked at it every morning when I got up, and I looked at it every night when I went to bed.
I think it's really interesting, Lib, what you were saying that, you know, because we look at you're an Olympian, right? Like, and you're sort of saying no, like willpower, and Georgie, you said this, it is a bit of a myth, this whole, and so we can beat ourselves up with, oh, you just don't have enough willpower. Other people have got more willpower than you, or they're more motivated than you. But also it could be it's habits and it's your environment, and you can rely on those things to get you up and out the door more than the touchy-feely feelings of I'm just not into it today.
And don't get me wrong, I'm all about touchy-feely motivational quotes. I literally had, like, one of the things that I had as a kid and still have to this day is a quote book of motivation.
Did you really?
Yeah, I used to write down all the quotes that resonated with me because I love that. Like, I feel like that's something that I can draw on, but at the end of the day, it's an emotion that ebbs and flows. And you might have a moment where you're like, yes, I'm just so motivated. I want to go and dig in.
And we've all been there. We know.
Absolutely.
Have we? Not sure. No.
but here's the thing: motivation doesn't just relate to sport. It relates to all facets of life. So you will have had something
like writing a book.
Yeah, book deadlines.
Absolutely, where you're just totally into it, and you're like,
totally. And then
how could I not be into this?
Yeah, but also then a motivation is, for me, there's motivation can be I've been paid in advance, or if I don't, when I was a freelance writer, if I don't get this article finished, I don't get paid. I can't pay my rent. So there's all different factors that can come in of what gets you across the line, and you don't have to rely on this kind of magical inner strength. Oh, I'm loving it, because you're not
Constantly
going to
motivated.
love it every day. And in fact, Georgie, you said something very interesting to me recently about the rule of thirds.
Yes.
What was that?
So it was something that I saw. It was a reel that came up, and it was an athlete talking about the fact that she turned up to training and said to her coach, I just don't feel good today. Like, maybe I shouldn't train. And he just sort of said, look, stop. Not everybody feels great when they're training. In fact, if you feel great a third of the time, good a third of the time, and average, meh, a third of the time, then that's fine. That's enough for this to work. Your feeling doesn't necessarily impact the quality of your training. They're just feelings. They're not necessarily giving you an indication of what the outcome would be. I heard Ben Crow also talk the other day about, he worked for Nike as part of his career, and he said there's a reason why their tagline is just do it. Because there are those days when don't overthink it, just put the gear on and get going. And I think, again, it applies to sport, but it applies to so many different parts of my life.
And it is easier, wouldn't you say, though? It is easier when, I'll think about me. Like, if I think, okay, I'm definitely going to get up in the morning early and go for a walk, right? If I have my exercise gear out, if my shoes are there, if I've set things up in the morning, it's a lot easier.
Processes.
Right? To get me out the door.
Operating systems.
Right. It's all of that stuff, your environment.
I mean, it sounds so exciting.
No, it really does. It sounds like you could need stationery and all sorts of things. Don't underestimate that.
But isn't that easier than the more hurdles you put in front of yourself? Well, I don't even know where this is, or my uniform hasn't been washed, or I can't find the equipment, or it just makes it all so much harder. Or it's much easier to get out the door when your stuff is there, you're ready to go, and that habits can carry you along and out the door more than I'm just not feeling it today.
Habits carry you 90% of the way. It has to. And, it comes down to why aren't you feeling motivated? Like, do you not want to do the sport anymore? Are you wanting to try something different?
How do you know when that is, though? Because, let's say there's a difference between I just don't want to go to training or whatever it is, right? I just don't. And maybe you have that for 2 weeks in a row, and then you're like, snap out of it. And you're like, oh, no, I'm back into it, right? But maybe if it goes on longer and longer, then you need to dig deeper.
Correct.
Is that I don't feel like it? Is that actually code for something else? Code for, well, actually, I don't like this team, or I'm not getting on with my coach.
Or I don't like the uniform. It's just scratchy or short.
Or makes you feel uncomfortable in some way.
It's too competitive. So all of that can then be the reason. So sometimes it's about digging deeper. Would you say that?
Absolutely. It's so much of this stuff is about understanding yourself more and being able to either writing in a journal maybe sort of getting a feel for what it is that you're trying to understand. You know, maybe you were so in love with tennis for a period of time and then all of a sudden that's waning. Like understanding what that is that's kind of behind those thought patterns. And is it just a once off, or is it now I just don't like it at any time that I go?
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Sportish. We'll be dropping some more sports shorts into your feed over the next couple of weeks, so keep an eye out. They're just little snippets to keep you going over the summer period. We hope you're having a great break with your family or spending time with your family, or that it's just quite a bit quiet at work. That's always a lovely part of January. Keep that sport on in the background and we will be back in your ears next week. Bye. We would like to acknowledge and give thanks to the traditional owners of the land we record this podcast on, the Yagara and Turrbal people,
and their continued connection to the land and waterways on which we meet.